Okay, when you multiply fractions, all you have to do is multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. That's it. Except if we can reduce, we will. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, because I don't think one of these can reduce. But let's go ahead and just do some of these. So all we do is multiply the top numbers. So what's 2 times 5? 10. And multiply the bottom numbers. 21. Not too tough, is it? Multiplying is way easier than adding. You're not getting common denominators. The rule is if you have a fraction a over b times c over d, that you can just multiply the numerators together. Some of you prefer that. I prefer to reduce if I can. And if I look here, 13/15 can't be reduced. 2/3 can't be reduced. 2 doesn't go into 15, and 3 doesn't go into 13. So I know I can't reduce it. Does anybody know what 2 times 13 is? And you feel free to use a calculator. What is that one? 26. Good. How about 3 times 15? Well, it's 15 added to 15. How many did you get there? 45. And another 15, so you get 45. Sometimes, honestly, that's what I do. I just add them. Okay? Can I reduce this one? Does 2 go into 5 or anything there? There's nothing that's going to reduce on these, so all we do is multiply those. So, George, what do I get? 5 times 1 is 5 over what? 12. And all you're doing is dividing the pie up. You have 5/6 of a pie, and you're going to take half of it. That's what's happening. It's harder for me to explain what's happening here than it is with the adding fractions. Those make sense. What's 2 times 5? 10, and this is 9 times 11 is 99. So, and I don't know why my next slide goes right into that, but it does. But let's not do that. Let's add a page, and let's do the worksheet we're going to do for today. And these are mixed numbers, so these are going to be harder. So feel free to use a calculator. And then the thing is, you're going to have to, when you get improper fractions, change them to proper fractions. That's the hardest part, probably. And I'm probably going to get some canceling. I think we can get this whole worksheet done. I'll come around and visit with each of you what you're missing. I don't have it in the grade. Well, I might have them in the grade program. Or maybe I will put them in the grade program and then print out what you're missing. Because I can do that. There you go. So you don't really need your iPads. You just need this piece of paper. So if we put our iPads away, that'd be great. If you close them, then you'll be more focused. Okay. Let's take the first problem. I'm going to go across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know why it doesn't have any numbers on it. And we'll do the first row together. Now, one thing I don't like about this is that they're written sideways, and I don't like them written sideways. Oh, and if you haven't had a chance to do that fraction quiz on Schoology, you should do that. I'll make sure that it's available to you. Okay, and they were not that great, by the way. You have 2 attempts to get them right. But part of the problem was that you left things improper. So when you multiply fractions, you actually can only multiply improper fractions. Yeah, guys, iPad's down. Don't close it up, please, because you don't need it. Okay, and you will multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators. These are the steps. Whoops, forgot numerator. And then you will reduce, and if it's improper, change back to a mixed number. When we get to the algebra part, we're not going to have to do that, which is kind of nice. We'll leave them improper. Okay, the problem with 1 1/2 is it's a mixed number. So I've got to change this to an improper fraction. Now, if you use the calculator, you can type it in 5, 6 times, and you're going to have to use parentheses, 1 plus 1/2. And I can bring that up and show you. So if we're going to get those, I'll pause for a second. In fact, I'll bring up the calculator. And actually, if you add 1 plus a half on your calculator, it should come out as 3 halves. Not going to swear it. Where's my calculator? If anybody wants my color one, well, it's not really color for this. I believe I'm right on that one. Oh, yeah, they're right there. Oh. Who doesn't have one? Okay. So we're going to go back here. Let's do it by hand. Let's check it on our calculator. You guys know what 1 1/2 is? Do you remember how to change that? George, you remember how to change that? How do we change that? 1 times 2 plus 1, which is what? Yeah, so it's 3 what? Halves. Now I know I can reduce that. You know, there's a couple ways you can reduce this. You could factor them down. Why am I stressing this? Seems kind of crazy. These are just fractions. But I'm stressing it because when we get to algebraic fractions, it's the same thing. This really can be written like this. I'm going to show you multiple ways to do this. It's 5 times 3 and 6. What are the numbers that multiply to give you 6? 3 and what? And 2. There's the 6. And then we still have times another 2. Are there any factors that are the same in the numerator as in the denominator? Josh, what's the same in the numerator as the denominator? The 3's. So here's what I do. I'm going to do this a lot of different ways. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 3 once. Then I multiply by what's left over. So I'm going to get these two together, which is 5. And then I'm going to multiply these two together, which is 4. And what's wrong with that answer? Not really wrong. Usually in algebra, I'll just leave it. But what should we do if we're talking about real world here? Change it to a what? What's wrong with this fraction? 5 is bigger than 4. What happens when the top is bigger than the bottom? It falls over and we have to change it. So it falls over here, so we have to divide 4 into 5. How many times does that go? Once. 1 times 4 is 4. Then we subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. So this is 1 and 1/4. That's one way to do it. You might have recognized that 3 was going to go into both the 6 and the 3. But let's say we don't recognize that at all. Well, let's just do the problem. They call it the brute force method. We just do it. So what's 5 times 3? 15. There's nothing wrong with this. Divided by 6 times 2 is 12. You could reduce now, or you can say, oh, it's improper. It's going to fall over. Because sometimes it's easier to reduce the fraction later. This is the only problem with multiplying that you're going to have is we have to reduce our fractions. How many times does 12 go into 15? Once. Good. 1 times 12 is 12, and we subtract, and we get what? 15 minus 12 is 3. Okay? So I get 1 and 3 out of 12. Can we reduce 3 12ths? What goes into 3 and 12? No, 4 doesn't go into 3. You're giving me the answer, I think. 3 goes into 3. That's what you're thinking. That's okay. You're just ahead of me, which is not a bad thing. So it's 1, and then this 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 12 4 times. Your calculator will do it all for you in one. Well, not quite all in one fell swoop, but pretty close. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the calculator. Turn yours on because sometimes they have to reboot. Because they literally are little computers. And then if you can tell me which way you wanted me to do this, because there's lots of ways to attack these problems, and they're all correct. Okay, so I have 5 6 times 1 1/2. Now 1 1/2, you could change it right away. Should we do that? Oops, menu. You got to be in a calc. Uh-oh. Hang on. Now I'm going to lose this whole thing. Come on. There. Oh, I did get that to work. Good. Okay. There. Calculator. Enter. See, if I do 1 plus 1 divided by 2, that should go to a mixed number right now. Whoops, I copied it wrong. 1, I thought I did, plus 1 divided by 2. Yeah, I hit the 1 too many times. And there I get 3 halves. You can do that, or you can just do the problem. But if you're going to do the problem, you really should have parentheses. It's 5 divided by 6, and that's how you enter them into Schoology, just like I'm doing that. I do have math type in there, but it doesn't quite work the same. Times, and then I must have parentheses here. 1 plus 1 divided by 2. Now the problem is that's going to be an improper fraction. Do you remember how to get the proper fractions from that? We go to menu, remember? We go in here to number, because we're not doing algebra yet. All algebra is arithmetic with letters. That's why the arithmetic's important. So number, we go to fraction tools. It's kind of a pain, isn't it? Proper fraction, and then I can go up and arrow up, or I can type in 5/4. It doesn't matter. And then when I highlight it like that, I press enter, it'll put it in there, and I press enter again, and it gives me the 1 1/4. And I'm going to take a picture of that, maybe. It's just a pain. There it goes. So do you guys want to use the calculators? Do them by hand? What do you think? You guys awake today? Wednesday. We have 2 more days after this. George looks really thrilled. Let's try another problem. I don't care. Whoops. I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it this way. Let's do the second problem. 1/5. Actually, I kind of like writing without a pen, actually. This board's not bad. Times, it's 2 1/3. Now we can check with the calculator, but we can do this by hand. Let me show you another way to do these fractions without going through all that work I just did. So it's 1/5 times, do you remember how to change those, Josh? Do you know what this is? It's 2 times 3 plus 1. Do you see how I remember how to do it? I multiply these, and then I have to go up, and I add the 1. See the plus sign? That little trick I'm doing? It's 2 1/3. So I go 2 times 3, which gives me 6, and then I go up. And see the little plus sign there? It says add the 1. So it's a little trick. That's all it is. I have lots of little tricks, so I can remember it. It really means 2 plus 1/3. So you have 2 whole pies, and you're going to add a third to it. How many how many slices do I have to put into my 2 pies so I can add them? Those are pretty good circles. I want to add it to a third. Let's understand what we're doing. This is a third. I want to add these up. I want them all divided the same way. How many parts should I divide this into? 3. I want them all the same, right? So how many thirds are there in 2 pies? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 6 thirds. Now just think for a second. Is 6 thirds equal to 2? Casey, is 6 thirds equal to 2? Yeah. Plus 1/3. This little trick I'm doing, 2 times 3, it's a trick to remember how to quickly do it. Doesn't explain why it works. This does. So this is 7 thirds. Anything I can reduce there? So this one's not a hard one to do. So what am I going to get now? Jeremiah, what am I going to get here? 7 over 15. Can we get a French 7? There. That's it. Can I reduce that? When in doubt, put it on your calculator. But if I factor this, this is 7 times 1. What's 15? What two numbers give you 15 besides 1 and 15? 5 times 3. Are there any numbers in the numerator that are the same as the denominator? Nope. Let's do another one. And then I'm going to give you work time, and you ask us questions, okay? So, and you can use your calculator, and I can go through that process again, too. 1 2/3. Whoops, I almost scooped that one up. Times 1/4. So we have to change that 1 2/3, this guy right here, into an improper fraction. 5/3. Does everybody agree? What color am I in? Oh, we could change colors. How about that one? So this is 5/3 times 1/4. Is there anything that divides into 3 or 4 that divides into 5? It's hard to write these problems so they reduce. It's really hard. So what do I get, Josh, when I multiply those? 5. And what's 3 times 4? Oh. Do you want me to review how to put that in the calculator again? You okay with the calculator? If not, we have a small class, ask. So your job is to complete this. But those of you who are behind, let's get some of those other things done so we can get your quiz in by Friday. Okay, and I'll finish correcting those other quizzes because I forgot to do that.